Hey, sports fans, Rich Flaherty here with your Week 11 highlight show. What a week it was! Let's quickly go to the headlines. Headline number one is the fat rebound with a high weekly score of 115. Congratulations to the Fat. Big win for, or big score for them, and a big win for them over Halfway House. But let's not jump ahead. Um, the the down of the week. That was the up of the week. The down of the week. No Way in Hell Hall scores only 44 points. So that's 2 weeks below 45 in a row. We will have a report tomorrow detailing out whether or not that is the lowest 2 point or 2 game total by any team in the history of SOFA. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's go ahead and go to the games. Game number one was at the time the 2-8 ED team against the up and coming Louisville Share team. If you remember, CBS had this as a slight victory, 78-77 for ED. TFL had it as a little bit bigger margin, 81 to 78.9. Final score of that game was a very high scoring decently close game, 107 to 96 for ED. So a big victory for ED, keeps their chances alive. It's the slimmest chance, but keeps their chances alive for the playoffs. And their victory really was at the hands of Devontae Adams, who scored 26. The Green Bay group, they did okay for Louisville Share, but just didn't have enough, even despite getting 24 points from Jamal Williams from Detroit. But again, victory for ED, 107 to 96. Game number two on the docket was our upset alert of the week. It was the Fierce O'Flaherty's at 4-6 and No Way in Hell Hall at 4-6. Even though CBS had it as an easy 85-77 victory, TFL actually saw it 83.1 to 77.3 victor for Fierce O'Flaherty's. We called for the upset alert and did not deliver, as the Fierce O'Flaherty's had a fairly good week despite a poor performance at quarterback because Kyler Murray didn't play, but 21 points from their Washington defense. And decent across the board scoring at the rest of the positions, and they were just too much for No Way in Hell Hall. Actually, anybody would have been too much for No Way in Hell Hall, who got only double digit scoring, 12 points from Wilson, 12 points from the kicker. Otherwise, everybody else was 6 points or less. And Fierce O'Flaherty's moved to 5-6 with a 94-44 blowout victory by the Fierce O'Flaherty's, and that helps their playoff position significantly. Game number three was our game of the week, or should have been the game of the week. It was Hang 10 versus G-Men. Unfortunately, Hang 10 was just struggled, was just not decimated, but the loss of Cooper Cup was going to be difficult for them. And they really, really, really needed Valde Scantley, who they picked up, hoping he would fill that void. Well, he only got 1 point for them. We both lines thought this was going to be a victory for the G-Men. CBS thought it was an 86-84 victory. TFL saw this really as a 95.3 to 79.4 blowout victory for G-Men, and the G-Men delivered, winning 85-53, thanks in large part to 22 points from Justin Fields and 15 points from their kicker. And so the G-Men and Hang both are at 8-3, but the G-Men hold the number one seed currently because they have the tiebreaker now since they won this game. Game number four is Girls on the Beach versus your Huckleberry. Very, as we talked about, very important playoff implications game, or total implications game, whichever way you wanted to call it. Both lines saw this as within a point. CBS had it as 81-81. TFL actually had it as an 83.4 to 82.8 victory for I'm Your Huckleberry. If TFL had gone in the Girls on the Beach way, we probably would have gone to a upset alert there again, but it just didn't matter, as Danya Huckleberry, big win, 27 points from Mahomes, 23 points from their Dallas kicker, who just kept seemed to be adding points left and right. Was way too much for Girls on the Beach. They won 100-66. That moves Anya Huckleberry to 5-6. Girls on the Beach drops to 4-7. Game number 5 was and the other game that was huge implications on playoffs, as you had Halfway House and the Fat. As you heard, Fat won this game very easily, 115-82. Both lines actually saw this as a relatively easy victory for the Halfway House, so both lines were totally incorrect, as the Fat got 30 points from Tony Pollard, 24 points from Jalen Hurts, 23 points from Harris from Pittsburgh, and 24 points from their kicker. So we thought the Dallas kicker points were the best in the league. They weren't, as Tyler Bass got 24 points to lead the Fat to that weekly high of 115 and a 115-82 victory. And that really pushes the Fat pretty much into the playoffs at this point, but it brings the Halfway House back into the pack of playoff competitors, or toilet bowl competitors potentially, but at least right now playoff competitors, as they still are okay, but you'll hear in a bit that it's going to be a little more dicey now. And then our last game of the week. This was the other game of the week, another one that should have been the game of the week, as the Mooners were playing MVH. Mooners were hurt by the bye. They didn't have a quarterback. They had to pick one up. They didn't have two running backs. They lost both their starting running backs, so they had to find one to play. And then they were out without Mike Evans, so they had to play McLaren, and that was just way too much for them to overcome. Too many pieces. Even though they got 17 points from Pickett as a fill-in, they got 19 points from the Ravens D, but it just wasn't enough. As MVH got 29 points, another 3 TD performance by Travis Kelce, and that really, along with some other decent scoring, carried them to the 95-65 victory. So the two teams now both are at 7-4. MVH has really positioned themselves to easily win the division on their side, and the Mooners are still okay because they are easily in that 4th spot at this point, but we'll see how the next couple of weeks go. So let's look at the total point scoring race. So we had another shift in that, as the G-men, with their big week this week, they moved back into the total points lead at 1,014 points. They are 5 points ahead of Mooners now at 1,009. And then we drop all the way down to the Halfway House at 997, and then the MVH is at 973. So you really saw a big shift with regards to total points, or big jump in total points by G-Men, or to be able to take that over. Let's look at the division races. So now in that tough lounging division, you now have G-Men at 8-3, Mooners at 7-4. The Fat at 6-5, and Fierce O'Flaherty's at 5-6. Now we go into the last 3 weeks of division, so we'll see what happens here with our division matchups there. I know Mooners is taking on Fierce O'Flaherty's, and G-Man is taking on the Fat, so that will determine a lot of what's happening in the division this week. In the Tater division, Hang 10 has kept their 3-game lead at this point over the Halfway Cafe and the Huckleberries at 5-6. So Hang 10 is at 8-3. Halfway Cafe and the Huckleberries at 5-6, with the Louisville Share team at 4-7. And then finally, down in the remote division, our poor remote division, where MVH at 7-4 has a 3-game lead and has almost clinched the division at this point. Girls on the Beach and No Way in Hell Hall are 4-7 each, and then ED is now 3-8. So if you look at the playoff structure right now, if the season ended today, G-Men would be the number 1 seed, Hang would be the number 2 seed, MVH would be the number 3 seed, Mooners would be the number 4 seed, The Fat would be the number 5 seed, and the Fat, given where we are almost in because there's a lot of teams that have to try. A lot of the 4 and 7 teams have to try to would have to win all 3 games and have the Fat lose all three. So almost in. So they're the 5th seed, and then now in the 6th, 7th, and 8th seed, you have our 3 teams: Fierce O'Flaherty's, the I'm Your Huckleberry, and Louisville Share. That I'm sorry, and Halfway House that are all 5 and 6. So those 3 teams are all 5 and 6. Now, the interesting thing here is that Fierce O'Flaherty's beat Halfway House, Huckleberries beat Fierce O'Flaherty's, and if we look at the schedule for, yeah, of course, you got 2 teams that are in the same division right now, Huckleberries and Halfway House, so they have to play each other one more time. But if you look at the schedule for those 2 teams of when they played last, it was back in week. Let me look. I'm just checking week 3 of the season, and Halfway House beat Huckleberry. So right now, if you look at those 3 teams that are all tied at 5 and 6, there's 3. Nobody's a clear winner because they've each beaten each other to with regards to that. So if we took the seeding right now, Halfway House would be the next seed at the 6th seed with their 997 total points, and then we would have I'm Your Huckleberry as the 7th seed because they are at 899, and Fierce O'Flaherty's would be the 8th seed at 894. So that's how the playoffs are sitting right now. Obviously, lots of things to go on in the next 3 weeks, and with that, you have Louisville Share, Girls on the Beach, No Way in Hell Hall, and ED would be the 4 toilet bowl teams. But again, way too many things going on. We've got a lot of division games that are going to make some big differences, and so we'll have a little bit better picture next week after the first round of division games. So there you go. I hope to have a very quick preview show tomorrow. Hopefully, if I can get it done. Obviously, it's Thanksgiving, so it's going to be tough. Got a lot of turkeys to cook, a lot of food to make, but I'll see if I can try to get something out, at least in text, added onto it to give everybody a preview show going into the weekend. Good luck to everybody. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye bye.